Gather round, young gunfighters, for today's lecture. Now, often I have a running list of topics by God's grace to talk about. People often wonder, how do you get so many topics to talk about? It's not that. That's not the problem. The problem is working two jobs, trying to get time to record and edit and schedule and all the other things that go into it. I have a running list of topics. When I have so many, I have the patrons vote on which ones they want to hear, and a lot of the other ones just go away. But today is not such a topic. Today is one that popped up, and every once in a while something just digs in my craw. I just want to talk about it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The self-deception and delusion that a lot of people are under with today's modern equipment. It comes, to give credit where it's due, the thought of this came from an American Hunter magazine circa July in the year of our Lord, 2007. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about guns, gunfighting, tactics, ballistics, the right way with Almighty God at the center, biblical Judeo-Christian values. Hopefully today that includes honesty, equal weights and measures. Unequal weights and measures are an abomination to the Lord. Alright, let's get into this topic. Average shootability. Now this was done in 2007. And to give credit where it's due, this main study was by Ian McCurkey. Well, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. I asked a sample of hunters a simple question. How far are you comfortable shooting a centerfire rifle? Most told me they are confident shooting out to 250 or 300 yards with their favorite rifles. That suggests most hunters are using only about half the accuracy potential of their equipment. If you take into account the fact that a good quality rifle scope ammo combination will shoot under 2.5 to 3 minutes of angle. I'm going to stop here and interject. That's very conservative. Most rifles, even then, in 2000, way back in 2007, would shoot inch and a half. Out to 500, even 600 yards, but I wondered about those answers. He invited 30 people to participate in a simple test with shooting sticks and or bipods I provided. Participants fired 3 shot groups at 100, 200, and 300 yards. My Winchester Model 70 and 308 Winchester scope with a burst 3 to 9 signature. Interjection. He's got good taste in rifles. And also with their own hunting rifles, so we could capture the results between familiar and unfamiliar firearms. Important for this, it was an 8-inch black circle at 100 yards and 12 inches at 200 and 300 yards. Okay, let me read you some of these results. M70, no rest. 100 yards, 100%. 200 yards, 66%. 300 yards, 0%. Personal rifles, 100%, 66%, and 0%, 300 yards. M70 with a rest at 1, 2, and 300. 100%, 66%, and 10% from a rest with an M70 at 300 yards. Personal rifles, 1, 2, and 300 yards with a rest. Their own rifles with a rest. 100% at 100 yards, 66% at 200 yards, and 5% at 300 yards. Do you think that Americans are better riflemen today than they were in 2007? They were about 20 years ago. And here's the rub. Our equipment now is better than ever. I don't think that our marksmanship is. I don't care if they were shooting 1870s technology, 4570s. The rifle with iron sights is capable of making that hit at 300 yards if they know they're dope. We're shooting a lot more modern guns than that. The equipment is not the issue. The marksmanship here is the issue. I see it all the time. I saw it as a guide. I see it in the shooting community. I see it on the reasons I got off of YouTube and all that other stuff. And a big reason that I listening to many of the big corporate podcasts put on by gun companies and cheap Chinese scope manufacturers and all this other stuff to think that the gear. It's like you can't play the guitar, and forgive me if the analogy is bad because I don't play guitar. You have a really nice guitar, Fender Stratocaster. You can't play guitar. You couldn't play the Itsy Bitsy Spider or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star on it. But you think if you just get a better guitar pick, you're going to be a rock star. That's gonna put you over the edge of being able to play the guitar. It's that way most of the time today, sadly, I think, with riflemen or would-be riflemen. They get all this stuff. And they shoot off a bench rest, and they think if they just get more stuff, a bigger, more magnified scope, if they just get fancier ammo with a higher ballistic coefficient, they'll be able to shoot farther distances. This is not the case. And I say this only because it's relevant, right? I was an expert rifleman in the Marine Corps. We shot with no rest, with a beat-up, iron-sighted, literally very beat-up, worn-out M16A2 getting hits on a man-sized target at 550 yards, 500 meters or 550 yards, with iron sights with no rest. This last season, shot CMP, service rifle, with an AR-15, standing unsupported, with the targets way smaller than that, scoring in the 90th percentile, standing. None of these shots, it says, were standing. 90-something percent standing offhand. And approximating targets out to 600 yards, unsupported, with no rest, with a rifle I would say is less suited to the task with a simple AR-15 than these rifles. Getting hits way farther. And I shot it with just a rudimentary AR that I had. With factory ammo. 55 grain, nothing crazy. The issue is not that you don't have enough gear. The issue is that you need to train shooting skill, not bench rest skill, not shooting off a bench, not how tiny a cloverleaf group you can shoot. With their own rifles, this is 30 hunters who, when they were asked, said they could get hits, they were confident out to 300 yards. With their own rifles, 5% got hits at 300 yards with a rest. Do not kid yourself. What can you actually do? Not what does the gun company tell you if you buy their gun you can do. Not what does the scope company say the dope is on that scope and how far it can shoot, and not how slick a BC and how good it cuts the wind your ammo can do. All that's irrelevant if you can't do it. The equipment is fantastic today. Just because you have the equipment doesn't mean that you can do it. You give me the best guitar in the world. You could find Jimi Hendrix guitar in a museum somewhere, wherever it is, and give it to me, and I couldn't play a Jimi Hendrix song. I'm not a rock star. I'm not a musician. I'm a rifleman, though. And you give me a basic rifle that's 3 MOA, which today is ghastly, and iron sights, and I can get hits unsupported out to 300 yards. The issue is not the equipment. The issue is your lack of skill in riflemanship, and you'd rather something in your car on Amazon that's super tactical and expected to make you better, or you'd rather spend money on a new rifle or a new scope or higher BC ammo, not that that would have made any difference really in this test, rather than actually getting out and training and shooting and going to a competition, taking a lesson from an actual shooter, an actual rifleman. Again, this stuck in my craw. I thought the article was great. It just, I see it so rampant in today's. People talk a big game, but give them a target of 300 yards, can they actually hit it? No, yeah. Are you just in it to post cool pictures of cool guns on Instagram? Are you actually in it to be able to hit targets? Because the point of shooting is to hit targets. That is the point of pulling the trigger, is to get a round on a target. The extra coolness that your gun looks does not help with that. The fact that you put a suppressor on your rifle to look cool on Instagram does not help with that. The fact that you can post in forums about how high the BC of your bullet is, that doesn't matter. Can you hit the target? I would point out that 0% at 300 yards with no rest, and only 5% at 300 yards with a rest. Men, especially American men, we're supposed to be a nation of riflemen. I'm blessed to have many nice rifles. But having nice rifles does not make one a rifleman. It makes you a collector. Can you get hits on target? Anyway, I'm going to try something a little bit different. I had an episode segment recorded for Patreon. Consider this a little plug. If you like it, there's a lot of content like this that I just make for Patreon. This was made for Patreon, but I'm going to put it in here because it's relevant, it's germane to this, and I already had it recorded. So I'm going to plug it in. There's a ton of content like this that comes out all the time on Patreon. Consider checking out Patreon. What is going on, fellas? This is yet another public service announcement on getting off the bench. Getting off the bench. Is it nice to shoot a little group off a bench, off a rest? Yeah, it's super sweet, super cool. Not really applicable to anything unless you plan on hunting in an area with a lot of naturally occurring benches and vices and sandbags. But if not, then maybe you want to get off the bench. The classic shooting positions. Standing. And this is like 70%, I think, of what you should be practicing. Standing. In any kind of dynamic situation, hopefully you're still standing. You look at military engagements, law enforcement engagements, civilian defensive shooting engagements. I don't have numbers of this, but just in my experience and ones that I've been in and ones that I've seen, the vast, vast majority are going to be standing on your hind legs, shooting. So, standing. You need to be good standing. I don't care if your gun can shoot a quarter MOA off a bench, but you can't hit a pie plate at 100 yards standing, you're not very effective. You're just not. Standing. You do a bunch of your practice standing, offhand. Standing, kneeling. That's probably one of the more used ones. Kneeling. Sitting. Sitting is important. It's not, if you wanted to skip one, I might skip sitting. Sitting is really useful, though, if you're going to be somewhere for a long time and you want a comfortable position. Sitting is a pretty comfortable position. And there's very good techniques where you can shoot sitting and shoot very well sitting. So sitting and prone. All right, kneeling is good because you can get in and out of it quickly for a dynamic situation. If you're going to be in the position for a long time, you probably don't want kneeling because it's not very comfortable after a few minutes. But you could be in the sitting position for hours. So that's the big difference there. And then, obviously, prone. And another wrong with the prone position, but I'm talking about an actual prone position where you don't have a rest, you don't rest the rifle, you don't have a bipod. Even if you had a bipod on your rifle, which I don't recommend because it's heavy and it gets caught up on stuff and it throws off the balance of your gun for shooting, again, standing, which is the majority of things you're going to shoot, standing. I'm talking about shooting prone without resting your rifle on something, like just on your elbows and using a sling, a good prone position. So practice the actual shooting positions, not off a bench, because again, unless you're in an area with a naturally occurring shooting bench, you're probably not going to shoot off a bench. So get off the bench, practice standing, kneeling, sitting, and prone. Your classic shooting positions. There are some other ones. There's like urban prone that you can practice, but until you master those four, or at least get a good grasp on those four, I wouldn't even concern myself with the other ones. But get in actual shooting positions. That is my encouragement to you guys. All right, with that, guys, I appreciate you. Appreciate all that you do. Your tactical verse of the day. I will send my fear before you. I will cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. Thanks for listening, men, and have a blessed day.